In that we have completed the first part in the last week. The first part of the inferential statistics is estimation, the theory of estimation, and the second part is the decision theory, okay, or test of hypothesis. Okay. So before proceeding to decision theory, okay, uh, you learnt about estimation, right? Estimation about the population parameters based on the sample data or sample evidences. Okay, and in last semester you have learnt about approximations. Okay, finding the approximate solutions to the given problem. Okay, so what is the difference between? I think I am repeating this question, right? What is the difference between this approximation and estimation? Is there any difference or both are same? What is the difference between approximation and estimation? Is there a difference? If so, what is the difference? You learnt about approximations, you learnt about estimations also, right? So what could be the difference? Just try. Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir.
So is there any difference or just say yes or no? Both are same. Difference between approximations and estimations. Suppose the question may be find the approximate solution to the find the approximate roots of the equation. Okay, exact roots may be 2, 3, 4. Then what your approximate solutions roots may be 1.9n and 2.8 and 4.1, say, right? And in theory of estimation, we are trying to estimate the value, right? The mean of so and so could be 42.34, like that. So what is the difference between these two? In approximations, if you are trying to give an approximate solution, that must be closer to the exact solution. Okay, as much close as possible. Your approximation must be very much closer to. So suppose the exact answer is 10, and if your approximate answer is 2, is that a correct approximation? That's a very poor approximation, right? So if you say if it is 9.824 like that, then that is a good approximation. Okay, so we always try to find out the solutions which are very much closer to the exact solutions. That is about approximation theory. And what is estimation theory? Estimation theory, we don't know the actual value. We're trying to predict its value based on the sample evidence or sample data. Okay, so using sample data, you are predicting something about the population, uh, which may or may not be true. Which may or may not be true. Okay, so suppose the population average is 52.3 actually, 52.3 actually, but using the sample data, you said that the average population is 40.4. Okay, so here we are telling that the estimation, we are estimating that a population could be 40.4, which is actually not true. Okay, suppose if you are estimating that the population is 51.4, okay, which may be true because that is actually closer to the exact value. Okay, so your estimation about the population parameters based on the sample evidence may be true, may not be true, may be true, may not be true. Okay, so that risk level or the level of that is associated with a certain probability. Okay, so approximations must be very much closer, and estimations about something which may or may not be true. Okay, there is certain amount of error involved. And now what is this statistical decision or decision theory? Okay, in estimation we are predicting the population parameters. Okay, and in decision theory what we do, we make some conjecture, we make some hypothesis, or we make some statement at the conjuncture about the population parameter, It may be population mean, or it will be population variance or population standard deviation, anything based on the corresponding sample statistic. Okay. So just by observing the sample data, you will say something, okay, about the population. Okay. Okay, when you say something, whether that is to be believed it or not, okay, you are making some conjecture or statement about the population parameter based on some evidence. Whether we should really believe that statement or not, that is to be discussed in decision theory. Okay, because there will be many cases where will be in a dilemma whether to do or not to do, whether to say yes or no. Okay, so whether to accept or to reject. Okay, so there will be slight differences. There may be slight differences. Okay, sometimes the differences may be more. Okay, so in what situation we have to say accept, we have to agree the conjuncture, or we should reject the statement. Suppose the weather is very cloudy outside, weather is very cloudy outside. Okay, whether to take your umbrella when you go out or not. Okay, so there will be four cases. Okay, outside it may or may not rain when you go out. Okay, and for you whether to take the umbrella, not to take the umbrella. Okay, so you took the umbrella, outside rain came, so you used the umbrella. Is your decision right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, you took the umbrella, outside it did not rain. Is your decision right?
No.
No. Okay, you didn't take the umbrella, but outside it rained. Is your decision right?
No, sir.
No.
No, sir.
Okay, so you didn't take the umbrella, outside also it didn't rain. Is your decision right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so situations may be like this. Okay, so there is a chance of committing error. Okay, in these four cases, you made right decisions in two cases. Took the umbrella, it rained. You didn't take the umbrella, it didn't rain. Okay, where in other two situations you made a wrong decision. Okay, they're called errors. Okay, what kind of errors I will tell you later. Okay, so there is there may be an error in taking in your decision making. There may be some error in your decision making. Okay, so so your decision will be based on certain risk that you want to take. Okay, with at what risk you want to take the decision. Okay, that will be discussed in this topic. Okay. Okay, so I'll be sharing the screen. Okay, so testing of hypothesis. Okay, so in the testing of hypothesis, there will be two statements. Okay, there will be two statements. One is called null hypothesis, other one is called alternate hypothesis. Okay, one is called null hypothesis. It is generally denoted with H naught. Other one is called alternate hypothesis. This is called H1. What is null hypothesis? What is alternate hypothesis? Okay, whatever the statement you are conjecturing about the population. Okay, and so that conjecture is called a null hypothesis. Okay, and we test this null hypothesis for possible rejection of that statement. Okay, we try to test the hypothesis for possible rejection of this statement. Okay, and any other statement, any statement other than this null hypothesis is called alternate hypothesis. Any statement other than this alternate hypothesis is called other than the null hypothesis is called alternate hypothesis. Okay, so we test some conjuncture. Okay, and okay, so there are two situations: either to reject the statement, or what is opposite of reject?
Accept.
What is the opposite of reject? Do not reject. So do not reject doesn't mean that accepting. Both are equivalent or what? I say true. I said I speak truth. Okay. Opposite is I don't speak truth. Okay. In bivalent logic, opposite of truth is false. But I don't say truth doesn't mean that I say false. Okay. So similarly, okay. Rejecting does not reject. Does not reject does not necessarily always be that we're accepting something. Okay. So, but most of the books, okay, most of the books, opposite of reject, they write it as, instead of writing it as do not reject, they write it as accept, okay, which I don't accept actually, okay. So, in my discussion, whenever I say, either I will say do not reject H naught, do not reject H naught, do not reject the null hypothesis, or reject the null hypothesis, rather than saying that accept null hypothesis, reject null hypothesis. Okay, most of the books are saying accept null hypothesis or reject null hypothesis, but what I am telling is do not accept, do not reject the null hypothesis, reject null hypothesis. Why I am telling like this? Okay, for example, let us say that uh, you know about court trials, right? Court trials. Okay. Suppose there was some murder. Okay, and police will arrest some suspected people, right? So there will be an investigation going on. Okay, so now you know these days these court trials will take years and years. Sometimes it will not judgment will not come out quickly. It may be a murder, it may be any. So suspected people will be under prosecution, right? So suppose okay, so then let us say uh, after 10 years, the court concluded that he is a culprit. So we are giving an imprisonment of 15 years jail. What does that mean? When court will give punishment to the can you tell me? This is the most important concept. Please listen carefully. Okay. When after making all the trials and investigation, court made a give a punishment to the person. That what does it, when court will give that punishment? When there is an evidence, right? When court feels that the evidence is sufficient to show that, to feel that the person made a guilty, okay, the person did the crime, okay. So whenever there is an evidence, there is a strong evidence, okay, that will help the court to give the judgment, to give the punishment to the court. Is that okay? Now when court will leave the person?
No evidence.
When there is no evidence, to show that the person did crime, then what the court will do, finally? They will simply release the person, because they are not able to produce a sufficient evidence to say that the person is did the crime. Does it mean to say that the person did not do the crime really?
No, sir.
Okay,
No, sir.
because the person might have done the murder, right? But the court released the person. But that means what? Do we have to say that the person did not do the crime?
No, sir.
So that is where your understanding should lie. Okay. So that means we don't have sufficient evidence to say that the person made the crime. Okay. That does not mean that he did not do the crime. right? So that is what I am telling. Okay? Rejecting something does not mean that accepting. Rejecting something does not mean that accepting something. Okay? So as long as there is a sufficient evidence, there is a significant evidence, okay, we do not generally reject the null hypothesis. Okay, so rejecting the null hypothesis is itself is a evidence that there is a significant difference between the observed data and the actual data picture. Okay, so if you are not rejecting the null hypothesis, that means your sample is not able to provide a sufficient significant conclusion about the plausible rejection of the null hypothesis. Okay, so that's about null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. Okay, whether to reject null hypothesis, whether to reject H0 in favor of H1, or whether not to reject H0, whether not to reject H0, and most of the people say whether to accept H0. Okay, so that is our point of discussion throughout the discussion theory, whether to reject H0 or not to reject H0, whether to reject null hypothesis or not to reject null hypothesis. Not to reject null hypothesis, people say loosely accept null hypothesis. Okay, so what do you mean by simple hypothesis? Simple hypotheses are of different types. Simple hypothesis and composite hypothesis. Okay, simple hypothesis means if you are specifying the exact value of the population parameter, that is called simple hypothesis. Composite hypothesis means generally it involves greater than or less than or not equal to. Okay, something like mu equal to 2.3 or variance equal to 5.6. Okay, when you are telling some parameter equal to the other population some value, that is said to be a simple hypothesis. We always specify null hypothesis always will be simple hypothesis. Always null hypothesis we frame it as simple hypothesis, whereas alternate hypothesis generally involves composite hypothesis, which involves not equal to, greater than or less than. Okay, so something like mean equal to 4.6, that is simple hypothesis. Okay, mean not equal to 4.6, composite hypothesis. Mean greater than 4.6, composite hypothesis. Mean less than 4.6, composite hypothesis. Okay, so any parameter equal to something we call it as a simple hypothesis. Other than that statement is said to be a composite hypothesis. Okay, and what do you mean by type 1 error and type 2 error? This is interesting. Okay, this I will demonstrate through an example. Already I have given 4 cases, right? Umbrella and rain problem, rain thing. Okay, so where you see 2 situations, right decisions, 2 situations wrong decision. Okay, so wrong decisions can be in 2 cases. Wrong decisions can be 2 cases. First one is you are rejecting something when it is to be accepted. Okay, something is true but you believe that is false. That is wrong decision. Second one is something is false but you are believing that is true. That is also a wrong decision. Okay, first kind of error, first wrong decision results in error. That error is called type 1 error. Second type of wrong decision called resulting in error called type 2 error. Okay, so where this type 1 error occurs, where this type 2 error occurs. Okay, let us I shall give you 2 classic examples. Okay, my own examples. Let us take our online classes started in the month of April or May, right? So, and there was a allegation about using Zoom app, right? And most of the people said don't use Zoom. It is a Chinese app. We should not use Chinese app, and also it has several security threats like that. Okay, and after that, okay. Statement, many people started stopping using Zoom. Okay, later it came to know that Zoom app is actually an American based company, and even Indian government also did not ban that app. Is that okay? If there is something wrong with the tab, definitely Indian government would have taken the action, right? But it did not take the action, and it is security. All the security features are also very good in that Zoom app. Okay, so which one is Zoom app is so people believed that it is false. Okay, so people believed it as a false, though Zoom is not from Chinese company, Chinese based company. Okay, so something is about Zoom is true actually, but people believed it as false. Finally, who lost it because of the decision? Who lost? Uh, who are the sufferers? Who, which end people are sufferers? Is Zoom suffered due to that, or the people suffered due to that? Which one do you think? See, when tell me, who are the losers? When the people, how can people see? Zoom is making a business, right? When there are more subscribers, when there are more subscribers, it will get more profits. Am I right? When people are stopping using Zoom, then it is losing its subscribers. Then who is losing?
Zoom.
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 Is that okay? So when you are rejecting something that is actually true, when it is to be accepted, okay, that you are making a mistake, okay, that mistake casting to the person who is making the business. That means what kind of risk that is? That is called producer's risk. Zoom is a manufacturer, right? He is a producer of the tab. Okay, so because of people's wrong belief, who lost it? Zoom lost it. So that kind of error is called type 1 error, which is actually called as a producer's risk. Okay, so when it is true, but some people are taking it as a false, that is called producer's risk. Now you take this other situation. You are like Coca-Cola, right? Okay. Okay, and research proved that Coca-Cola is actually pesticide. Okay, but when it advertise, what it advertise, drink Coca-Cola, drink Coca-Cola. It is that is what it advertises, right? So when you say drink Coca-Cola and purchase my product, that means you are telling that my product is good, but actual truth is it is not a good product. Okay, so when it is not a good product and it is a pesticide, what people should do? They should start rejecting that product, Coca-Cola. But what they are doing, they are accepting that Coca-Cola. They're not rejecting it. Do you understand? So when you are doing, so you are accepting something which is when it is to be rejected. You are accepting something when it is to be rejected. That is also an error called typed error. Now, who are the losers because of this? Is a producer is at risk, are the consumers are at risk?
Consumers.
Consumers are
Consumers.
because you are believing something when it is actually false, right? So that type of risk is called consumer's risk. That type of risk is called consumer's risk, type 2 error. Okay. So so when you are okay making releasing some product, okay, make sure that your risk levels are very low. Okay, so then only okay you'll be in a safe side. Okay, so so this decision theory is all about mostly will be applicable in business, right? So which one to be taken care mostly? Okay, see that type 1 error is minimum. Okay, see that my consumers rejecting my statement is very less. The probability that my consumer rejecting my hypothesis is very less. In that way only producer will be in a safe side. Is that okay? So that probability of committing type 1 error is denoted with alpha. That the probability of committing type 1 error is called alpha. What is the alpha actually called? What is the name of alpha? I use it in theory of estimation. You remember? Alpha. Alpha is the symbol for what?
Level of significance.
Level of significance. Okay. So the probability of type 1 error is nothing but the level of significant or significant level. Okay. So the more the significant level, okay, when the significant level is very less, very less, like 1% or 2%, okay, then the precision of your decision will be more accurate. Lesser the significant level, the decision will be more reliable. Okay, lesser the larger the significant level, okay, the lesser your precision, your precision of your decision. Okay, so type 1 error is these are the cases, right? So H0 is true. Okay, you are not rejecting, that means you are accepting, let us say. Okay, so that means it is a right decision. H0 is false and you are rejecting H0, therefore you are making a right decision. H0 is true but you are rejecting H0, that is called type 1 error. This type 1 error is called producer's risk. H0 is false but you are not rejecting H0, that is called type 2 error, which is called consumer's risk. Okay, so probability of committing type 1 error is called level of significance. It is denoted with alpha. Okay, probability of type 2 error is denoted with beta. Probability of type 2 error is denoted with beta. Okay, and 1 minus beta is called power of the test. Later I will give you in the material. 1 minus beta is called power of the test. Okay, now how to take the decision? There are some steps involved in taking the decision. Okay, so this decision theory is about a population parameter equal to so and so. Okay, that parameter may be population mean. The population parameter can be variance, it can be standard deviation or something. Okay, so in broad, in general, okay, so corresponding to the population parameter, you will be seeing some statistic, right? If I want to talk about population mean, I will look at the sample mean. If I want to talk about the population variance, I will take the sample variance and so on. Okay, so these statistics, sample mean, sample variance, sample standard deviation, let us say all these things are denoted with S. All these things are denoted with S. Okay, and this statistics is taken from the sample, right? Let us take you are taking a sample of size n. Okay, when you have an infinite population, how many possible samples of size n can be drawn? Infinitely many sample sizes, right? So from each sample you can get some sample mean. Sample 1 you will get sample mean, sample 2 you will get another sample mean, sample 3 you will get another sample mean, and so on. That means, okay, this sample mean can be treated as a random variable which has a distribution. Okay, that means when you have a sample, when you have a population, when you are taking samples of size n, different samples of size n, you can have a sampling distribution of that statistic. Once you have the sampling distribution of the statistic x, then you can have mean of the sampling distribution, you can have variance of the standard deviation, and so on. That means mu s, sigma s, sigma s square, and so on. Okay, so what we do, we compute this test statistic. Okay, we compute this test statistic corresponding to the distribution, probability distribution. Okay, for large samples, okay, the test statistic is approximated with normal distribution. For small samples, the test statistic is generally approximated with some distribution like that. Okay, now our present discussion is more about is on only large sampling. Small sampling theory I will discuss afterwards. Okay, first of all, we need to complete about the large sampling theory. That means all the distributions we are going to approximate with the normal distributions only. Okay, and I'll come to this critical values, critical region, and so on. Significant level, just now I said it may be 1% or 5%. It may be 1% means 0.01, 5% means 0.05, and so on. Power of the test also I will come back to later. Okay, and there are three kinds of tests. One is one-sided test. There are two tests basically. One is one-sided test, other one is two-sided test. One-sided test is of two types: right one-sided test or left one-sided test. Okay, see, as I said earlier, okay, our null hypothesis is always like this: simple hypothesis, which involves equality. Okay, Whereas your composite hypothesis may be like this. Okay, maybe like this, or maybe like this, or mu not equal to 50, mu not equal to 50, mu not equal to 50. Okay, and if you are framing the alternate hypothesis like this, that means you are going to conduct a left one tail test. If your alternate hypothesis is like this, that means you are going to conduct right one tail test. Okay, if your hypothesis alternate hypothesis is like this, mu not equal to 50, that means you are going to conduct a two tail test. Okay, so what is this two tail test, what is one tail test, what is left one tail test, you will see now. Okay, okay, so see, this is called a left one tail test, where this reddish part is called critical region. What is that critical region, I will tell you now. Okay, and this is called a two tail test, where the critical region on both sides, where the critical region is on both sides. Similarly, you can have right one tail test also. I don't think whether I have written this. Okay, so instead of left side, instead of left side, if critical region on the right side, that is called right one tail test. Okay. Now, what are the critical values? What are the critical values? This where the critical region is starting, where the critical region is starting, that points are called critical values. Okay, this is an x-axis. These are the series of z values or t values. Okay, if it is a standard normal distribution, it is center point is going to be 0. Okay, and point 1, point 2, like that, the z values are going positive side. Here these values are going negative sides. Okay, so the point at which the reddish region is going to start, the critical region is going to start, that is going to be called the critical values. Okay, and this reddish region is called critical region, or the region of rejection, or the region of rejection. Okay, the remaining part of the region is called region of acceptance, but I will call it as non-rejection region. I will call it as non-rejection region. This whitish part I will call it as a non-rejection region, or people, some other people say it as a acceptance region. This reddish part is called as a rejection region. This reddish part is called as a rejection region. Okay, now your decision will depend upon whether your test statistic value comes under critical region or non-critical region, significant region or non-significant region. This can be called as region of rejection. This can be called as a critical region. This can be called as a significant region. Okay, this is called insignificant region, or non-significant region, or region of acceptance, or non-rejection region. Okay, so you based on some formula, you will be computing some test statistic. Okay, and these critical values, how to compute, that depends upon alpha. Okay, whatever the level of significance you consider, okay, corresponding to that alpha, you will be computing the critical region. In case of two tail test, those critical values will be z alpha by 2 and minus z alpha by 2, z alpha by 2 and minus z alpha by 2. Whereas in one tail test, if it is left one tail test, this will be minus z alpha. This will be minus z alpha. If it is a right one tail test, it will be plus z alpha. Okay, you know. Okay, if I say z alpha, if I say z alpha by 2, that means right side array is alpha by 2. If I say minus z alpha by 2, that means left side array is minus array is alpha by 2. So whatever the index you see for z, okay, the corresponding critical region area is going to be that much. Okay, okay, so there are some tests involved in steps involved in the testing of hypothesis. Okay, so now I'll come to this part. Okay, okay, right. Now, okay, so right? Okay. So I said there are two kinds of test. One is a two-tailed test. In case of two-tailed test, okay, this critical region depends upon the alpha. Okay, so alpha will be mentioned in the problem itself. Okay, what will be your level of significance, that will be mentioned in the problem corresponding to the this alpha. You will be deciding whether to take two-tailed test or one-tailed test. That is also will be understood through the problem. Okay, so if I am taking two-tailed test, these critical values will be like this for large sample: z alpha by 2 minus z alpha by 2. Then what will be this area?
Alpha by
Alpha by 2. What will be this area? Left side.
minus
Area is always positive, no?
alpha by
Alpha by 2. So alpha by 2 plus alpha by 2, alpha. So critical region area is always alpha. Whether you're applying a right tail test or left one tail test or two tail test, the total critical region area must be alpha. Remaining area is going to be 1 minus alpha. Okay. Similarly, if I'm applying, if I'm choosing left one tail test, if I'm choosing left one tail test, okay. Now left one tail test means this will be your critical region. Then what is the index I should give? Remaining is non-critical region or non-significant region. Then what is the index I should give to this? Total region, total critical region area must be alpha, I said. So this entire, this is the only critical region, I said. When I say this is the only critical region, its area has to be alpha. Then what is the symbol I should use here?
Z alpha.
minus Z alpha.
Minus Z alpha. Why? Because it is on the negative side, no? Am I right? Similarly, if I am applying right one tail test, I'm applying right one tail test. So this is my critical region. This is the only critical region. So this so this area is going to be alpha. So this point is said to be
Z alpha.
Z alpha. Z alpha. Okay. So this test is called what? Two-tailed test. This is called a two-tailed test. This is left one-tailed test. Left one-tailed test. What is this called? Right one-tailed test. And what are these points called? This point is called critical value. So there is only one critical value, Z alpha, for right one tail test. This is also called critical value. There is only one critical value for left one tail test. Whereas Z alpha by 2 and so whereas plus or minus Z alpha by 2 is called critical values. There are two critical values for a two tail test. There are two critical values for two tail test. Okay. So what is this alpha called?
Level of significance.
Level of significance. Okay. And what is this region called? This is so this region is called, I said this region is called critical region or rejection region. Rejection region. So reddish part is always called as a rejection region or region of rejection. And what is this non-reddish region of? Generally, people call it as region of acceptance or acceptance region or non-significant region or insignificant region. Insignificant region. Okay, or what I prefer to say, non-rejection region. I like to instead of calling it as acceptance region, I will say it as non-rejection region. Okay, now when to accept, when to reject the statement, when not to reject this statement. Okay, it depends upon, I said you need to compute this test statistic, no? Okay, what is a test statistic? It will be like this. Okay, random variable, test statistic we denote with S star. Okay, statistic value minus mean of the test statistics by sigma S. Okay, S minus mu S by sigma X. Okay, if it is a large sample, okay, this is a distribution. This can be approximated with normal distribution. Okay, in case of a mean, what will be the test statistic in case of a mean? X bar, right? Sample mean X bar minus mu X bar. Okay, just see. Okay, statistic. Now my statistic, I am taking a special case. That statistic I am taking it as a sample mean. Mean of the sampling distribution of the statistic. That means mean of the sample mean divided by sigma by root n. Sorry. I should call it as first sigma X bar. Sigma X bar. And this is actually equal to X bar minus, what is mu X bar, you know? Mu by what is sigma X bar?
Sigma by root.
Sigma by root n. So when the problem is given, then you should know two things. What are those two things? Mean value and standard deviation. Population mean and standard deviation. These things should be known. Okay, should be known means that the data must be given in the problem. Whether that is true or not, that is later. That is later part of the discussion. Okay, whatever is to be believed to be true, that will be given in the problem. Okay, in terms of mu and sigma, because it is a particular value. Instead of calling it as mu, we call it as mu naught, because we make the statement like this. I said mu equal to mu naught, simple hypothesis. Okay, so in place of mu, what should I write? Mu naught, because I'm assuming that mu population mean is equal to mu naught. Okay, so this is actually equal to this will be equal to X bar minus mu naught by X bar minus mu naught by sigma by root n. That is fine, but sometimes sigma may not be given. Sometimes population standard deviation may not be given. Only you might be having a sample standard deviation. In that case, what should I do? You can approximate population standard deviation with the sample standard deviation, as long as the sample is large sample. As long as the sample is large sample. Okay, so when the population standard deviation is given, you use this sigma by root n. If it is not given, you approximate the population standard deviation with the sample standard deviation. You approximate population standard deviation with the sample standard deviation. Is it okay? Now, what are the steps involved in testing of hypothesis? What are involved in the testing of hypothesis? Okay, there are 6 steps to be followed. Okay. Steps in testing of hypothesis. First point is form the null hypothesis, NH. Okay. Second one, form the alternate hypothesis, H1. What is null hypothesis? It is the conjecture about the population parameter. And what is alternate hypothesis? which is in any other statement other than the null hypothesis. That is called alternate hypothesis. Okay. So the point is whether to reject H naught or not to reject H naught. Okay. Some people say whether to reject H naught or to accept H naught. They will say. Okay. So the next one is choose level of significance. Choose level of significance. What is the notation for level of significance? Alpha.
Alpha.
Okay. Fourth one, find the critical region. Find the critical region. This critical region depends upon the kind of test that you are applying, whether you are applying two-tailed test or one-tailed test. Okay. So that means by find the critical region by computing critical values. What are the critical values? For two-tailed test, critical values are plus or minus z alpha by 2. And right one-tailed test, I said critical value is z alpha. Left one-tailed test, I said the critical value is minus z alpha. Fifth one, compute the test statistic. Compute the test statistic. Okay. So it will be something like this. Okay. We write like this. S star is equal to, as I said earlier, this is about sample statistic minus mean of the sampling distribution of the statistic divided by standard deviation of the sampling distribution of the statistic. Okay. Then you compare this test statistic value with the critical value. After comparison, you take the decision. Take decision. How to take the decision? Okay. So it depends upon the comparison between critical values and test statistic value, I said. Now look at here. This is z alpha by 2. This is minus z alpha by 2. Your critical value may be positive or your critical values are for two-tailed test. There are two critical values: positive critical value, negative critical value. And you are computing the test statistic. This may be positive or negative. Do you agree? This may be positive or negative. So your critical value may fall here. Your critical value may be here. That means S star may be Z alpha by 2. Where this critical, test statistic. Your test statistic may be greater than Z alpha by 2. Okay, that means what? Where is this test statistic? Is it in the rejection region or non-rejection region?
Rejection.
So whenever your test statistic falls, whenever your test statistic falls in rejection region, you simply reject the null hypothesis. You reject the null hypothesis in favor of alternate hypothesis. That means there is a strong evidence to say that to reject the null hypothesis. Okay. So your test is in favor of H1. Does not mean that H1 is true. Rejecting H0 does not mean that again H1 is true. You are making some statement opposite to the H0. Okay. So it may or may not be true, but favorable. It is actually test is favoring to H1. That's it. That's all we can say. The test is favoring to H1 against H0. That does not mean that H1 is always true. You are just favoring to. You are just deciding which one to do the favor. So your test statistic may fall here, or your test statistic may fall here. That means what? S star may be greater than Z alpha by 2, or S star can be less than minus Z alpha by 2. Okay, in these two cases, your test statistic will fall into critical region. Whenever your test statistic is falling into critical region, you're going to reject the null hypothesis. Otherwise, that means what? Your test statistic is in here. That means what? minus Z alpha by 2 less than S star less than Z alpha by 2. That means it is falling in the non-rejection region or acceptance region. That means what? You cannot reject the null hypothesis. Whenever your test statistic falls in, you cannot reject the null hypothesis. That means what? There is no sufficient evidence to say that to reject the null hypothesis. There is no sufficient evidence. That does not mean that again null hypothesis is not able to produce the right evidence, strong evidence or significant evidence. Is that okay? Now there is one more case. This falling of this test statistic. Falling of this test statistic depends upon the critical region, I said. This critical region depends upon the level of significance, I said. And choosing the level of significance is in my hand. That is in my hand. Suppose instead of choosing the critical region like this, if I decrease the level of significance further, let us suppose that my critical region is only this part. Okay, that means when I decrease the level of significance is further small. Now where this test statistic is falling now? Now black one is rejection region. Now is this falling under rejection region now?
No.
No. So in this case, what do you say? Whether to reject the null hypothesis or not to reject the null hypothesis? Not to reject the null hypothesis, right? Because your test static is not falling in the critical region or rejection region. Is that okay? So your decision also depends upon the level of significance. For one level of significance, your test static may fall in critical region. For another level of significance, okay, your test static may fall in non-rejection region or insignificant region. Accordingly, your decision will change. Is it okay? So there is no permanent decision. Your decision depends upon the level of significance that you choose also sometimes. So for one level of significance, your decision may be reject H naught. For some other level of significance, your decision may be not to reject H naught. So your decision depends upon level of significance, at what risk you want to take, what kind of confidence you want to say. Okay, if you want to choose only 1% level of significance, that means what? You want to be 99% confidence should be confidence on your decision. Is it okay? If you are taking level of significance as 2%, that means your decision must confidence level. You should have 98% of the confidence level on your decision that you are going to take. Whether the decision is going to is actually error or not, that is later part. But what is your confidence level on your decision making? That depends upon the level of significance. Is that okay? So these are the general 6 rules to reject the null hypothesis or not to reject null hypothesis. So in next class, in tomorrow's class, okay, we'll see a special case of testing of hypothesis. First test, that is called testing of null hypothesis for single population mean for large samples. Okay, so we'll be seeing tomorrow in tomorrow's class both two-tailed test, one-tailed test, left one tail test as well as right one tail test. Okay, in which situation we have to take two tail test, in which situation we have to take left tail test or right one tail test, depends on the problem. That we'll see tomorrow. Is that okay? So just you understood the terminology, right? Different terminology I used now. Okay, critical values, rejection region, okay, null hypothesis, alternate hypothesis, type 1 error, type 2 error, producer's risk, consumer's risk, power of test. Okay, so just I'll share the material, go through it, okay, and be ready for the tomorrow's class. Any doubts? Do you have any doubt so far?
No, sir.
Okay. Let me take the attendance.